Hi, my name is Roy Canterbury. I'm host today on our Archery Talk 101 podcast. And we have a special guest with us today. His name is Joel. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Roy.
Well, how about if you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and why and how you got started in archery?
Okay, well, that's a long story. I'm Joel Broersma. I own Carnamore LLC here in Cave Creek, Arizona. I am a firearms manufacturer and SOT, and so I spent a lot of time talking about hunting and BSing about hunting and hunting. I'm also an Arizona hunting guide, but I primarily do all of my hunting with a bow. And that's just the way that I grew up. Where I grew up was in the bush. And then once we were in the States, moving all around, I spent as much time as I could in the woods. And I've really just grown to love archery. I practice almost every day, shoot almost every day. 12 arrows a day is my rule. I have a 100-yard bow range here on the property, and I shoot a PSE levitator. What else is there?
Oh, PSE makes the best bows.
Yeah,
And
well,
you probably see on my shirt, look, PSE.
that's right. That's
I
right.
was a PSE dealer for several years here, about 20 years ago. And I got when I first got the store, I was shooting a Matthews Q2. And when I went down to the dealer school, they said, okay, part of the dealer school, you got a bow. And I flat out told them, I'm shooting the Matthews Q2. Which one should I be shooting that's as good or better? And I got the Carrera. It's a 2001 Carrera. And it was rated 320 feet per second. That was back then. Now, you never get your rated speed out of them. I do shoot 70 inches, but I don't 70 pounds, but I don't shoot 30 inches. And I don't shoot, the 350 grain arrow with only a knock point. And, so you don't really get it, but I'm still getting, pretty good speed out of it, but 260s, 280s, somewhere in there. I don't remember because it's been so long ago. Yeah, that's my hunting bow.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I just upgraded to the Levitate, but I've been shooting the DNA since 2012. I think the original Dream Season DNA came out. Before that, it was Bow Madness, and I think the first PSE I had was a Thunderflight, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah,
but,
that was one of the earlier ones.
Yeah, and before that it was Wood Dartons. When I went to compound bows, it was first the Wood Riser Darton compounds. Those are the ones we could buy used at the shop easy enough.
Yeah.
Back then a bow was $35 and you had to save up for a while to get it. But
yeah,
yeah, I love it. I love doing all the 3D archery shoots in the summer, and try to get as many people into archery as I can. It is way more frustrating to hunt that way, but it's way more rewarding too. So
yeah, it can be frustrating when they come out and they're walking down the trail and almost the opening and they stop. And they just stand there, and then they run 3 or 4 feet and then stop and start walking again. They're like, that was my only shot. And they run through it and then keep walking.
Yeah, they seem to be able to figure that out every time, even without knowing you're there. You can't, they're way better at the game than we are. And you got to be out here in Arizona. You got to be as good as a mountain lion if you're going to stick them with a sharp stick, so
right.
It's been a real challenge. I moved here from Michigan, and there I thought bow hunting was hard. Out here is a completely different challenge. You have to rethink the game, relearn animals. It took me a long time to stick a mule deer out here. So
yeah, it's like here in Nebraska, out west you have the mule deer, and then over in East Part we have the whitetails, and you have to hunt them completely different.
Yeah,
the whitetails, you can get pretty much, sometimes you can set your watch by their timing. There's times I've been out there and it's like, okay, it's noon. Yep, sure enough, they're coming down the trail. Next time I'm out there, yep, sure enough, noon, come down the trail. I think I'm gonna move next to that trail. And then they change. Then they come through a different time.
They'll do it. It's pretty weird. Whitetail will do that. Mule deer, they're a little bit different animal, but a lot of people tell me it's real easy to hunt a mule deer. I imagine with a rifle it is. I have not yet got to shoot a deer with a rifle in my life. I've shot 62 deer in my life, all with a bow. When I do shoot one with a rifle, I suppose it would be pretty easy because getting within that 80 yards of a mule deer, that's the hard part. You can get to 200 yards from them all day and they let you, but that's just not bow range. And with a rifle, I can see how that would be a lot easier, but with a bow, you just got to get there.
Yeah, I know 200-yard shot with my, I got a Browning X-Bolt in 30-06, and the way I have it sighted in is I do it at the indoor range, and I was able to, put 3 shots in the same hole, but that gives me dead on about 200 yards.
Mm.
So within 300 yards, I'm within 3 inches.
Yeah.
So I just got to be steady, and as I get older, it's harder to stay steady, but shooting on a rifle team in high school, you kind of learn how to do that. And you may not be steady as you want, you're there, but 200-yard shot, I'm not even getting excited yet for bow. Even when they come in at 100, I'm still not getting excited. Until they
Well,
start getting about 50, because my range is a little bit shorter because I can't see that far very well anymore. So I don't take those long shots just because it's, as you get older, you start having, cataracts form, and your right eye is your dominant eye, and it's the blurry eye now, so the clear one, and so your pins don't work right, and so I kind of limit my shots a little bit less than I would have before.
I try to tell myself that too. This past January, the mule deer buck I was hunting, I followed for 4 days. I've got 3 years worth of footage of him, following him around. He didn't get much bigger this year, and I decided that it was going to be time, and he was kind of the biggest one around. So I went after him. It was my 4th day. I finally got him, but I got him at 87 yards. But that was the ninth arrow that I launched at him in those 4 days. So I felt completely horrible about myself. And then it turns into a personal challenge, because I wasn't going to let him get away or better me at this point. But he had so many does. He had 15 does most days with a couple spikes and forkies with them. So it's just too many eyes to get there. And I just wasn't being patient enough. And finally, on that 4th day, I caught him alone with the doe, but I wasn't going to get any closer than that 87 yards. And she saw me. He didn't. She started moving off, and he kind of was like, where did she go? And that was my only time, and I luckily, I held a little high. My string was slowing down a little bit, but I got him. So it worked out, but
Yeah.
I don't ever like to tell people, well, I shot him at almost 90 yards, because I kind of try to tell everybody we try to be 60 yards and closer, but I just couldn't get there. And I practiced enough. It worked out, and luck was in my favor. So,
Well, you said you have 100-yard range that you can practice at, and if you practice at those 100 yards all the time, then you know your skill.
Yeah.
If you only shoot 10 yards, you're shooting 40 yards, it can be tough. Yeah.
60 yards is what I practice at the most, because I found that if I practice at 60 yards, 80 yards feels almost like that.
Right.
90 yards feels almost like that. If I only practice at 30 yards, 60 yards feels like 100. So it's
Right.
kind of weird. I spend most of my time practicing from like 60 to 65 yards. And if I can hold them, within 3 inches, 4 inches at that, I'm fine. But a lot of times I'm breaking arrows. That levitate is just so forgiving. The DNA, a lot shorter brace height, same speeds. I shoot a 420 grain arrow. I got 125 grain broadheads I shoot. Almost identical specs to the levitate. It's a little bit shorter, about the same weight, but way less forgiving. I would notice on any given day going out to shoot that today my form is 2 clicks left. Today my form is 2 clicks right. And I'm still hitting knocks. I'm still hitting arrows, but I'm off. And that levitate doesn't seem to do that to me. It's not really, really form picky like that DNA was. And maybe shooting the DNA made me way better because I had to focus on that stuff all the time. Because at 100 yards, I mean, your tiny little mistake back here shows like this,
Oh yeah.
And maybe it made me way better, but that levitate, I'm in love with that bow. So I'm currently getting a new string right now for it, and kind of finished up some color on it. I'm a Duracoat nut, so it'll look cool this year.
Yeah. Well, they make such good bows, PSE, and all the major manufacturers make good bows. It's
Yeah, they do.
my other bow is a 2000, what is it, 2003 Scorpion.
Oh yeah.
The one I have is the 2-cam version, and then they also have a single cam version. Or no, mine's the single cam, and they have a 2-cam version to come out the next year, and then they
Okay.
drop the bow line. Like, so I looked up the specs, and it's like, okay, wait a minute, this isn't the right ones. I don't have this. Mine's different configuration. I have the string and the cable and the control cable. And so I called, I sent them out and I said, okay, here's my serial number. And I said, okay, here's the links, because I only had 2 of the 3 links on my sticker on my bow. Like, okay, what's the third one? So when I'm making a new string, I need to know how that long I need to be. And nice when you make your own strings, you can make whatever color combination you want.
Yeah.
You
What,
have multiple different options in colors, and I've done 3 colors before, and I actually did one where instead of the normal twist, I took the 2 different colors and I twisted them inside of each other, so they form little V's in the string. I did that on one bow, and then I did one, not the bow I have on her now, the one I had before that finally broke after many years of using and sitting there in the case over the winter time. I actually took the 3 colors and braided them like you would do a braid. And that's interesting, because how much longer do I need to make them? Because the braiding process takes up more strings. So now it's all big thing. And then you can, want them a little bit long, because then you can still twist them. So you braid them and twist them, and it just kind of makes an interesting one. And a lot of work now. I just normally just do the 2 colors. When I had my store, people come in, want a string, and you say, what color one? All black. No, you can't have all black. Too boring. Pick a different color. Pick 2 colors, and then make it your own. Just the same thing when I fletched arrows. I had tons of vanes, 3-4 inch vanes. I had 4 and 5 inch feathers. Of course, I charge a little bit more for the feathers because they cost me a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I had no pre-made arrows. They were all raw shafts, fletched to your colors that you want, and cut to your length.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And in that way, it's like you go to these stores and you got maybe 2 orange and a yellow, or a yellow, orange and whites and yellows. That seems to be the only options you have. You don't have any options for anything else. Like if you want your school colors, you can do that. If you want your favorite color, use that. And then I'd put wraps on some arrows, for hunting arrows. I took the reflective wraps and put them below my fletching, because as I change fletching, I don't want to cut through the wrap, because now you got to either put it back in the exact same spot. And so I just put them down below. I did one set of orange wraps with orange and red feathers, or veins on it. Well, that was feathered. And so those just kind of just stood out, this big old bright orange thing at the end of your shaft. And as long as it's not, reflective, or deer don't see color, so they can't tell.
Yeah.
And same thing with, solid black shafts as opposed to the camo shafts, which when we had aluminum, there was a lot of them in camo. Well, as long as it's not reflecting light, deer can't tell if you have camo. And I always figured, if the deer know that I don't have camo arrows, I'm already in trouble.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. And now, with the carbons nowadays, they're so much better than they was when they first come out.
Oh, they're amazing.
I went through, in the 60s, with wood arrows, and you had your option of either wood or fiberglass, recurve, or compounds, or longbows. It wasn't until the 70s when the compounds first come out. And the first compound I shot was one of those whitetail 2s. My brother had that, and I shot that for a while, and then I finally got my own. And
idler wheel was about that big.
oh yeah, yeah, little bitty ones. And And you know, and like the old Novas after the one that you had, the first one you had though, was the Fireflight
Yeah, I think it was the Thunder Flight.
or Thunderflight, yeah.
Yeah,
And they come out with the Nova series, which had the steel cables
yeah.
and then
I
and the
remember that.
wheels. And you know, when I was down at the dealer school, you know, they taught us how to make those steel cables. And I've made a few of them. But you know, you come in, somebody has a broken steel cable. You know, this for all the new people listening is like, if you have a bow with a steel cable, that steel cable breaks, just hang it on a wall because you're not going to get it fixed. Number one, you have to find the right steel cable. It's the style that you have. And last I heard, like 5-6 years ago, they were $100 a piece when you could find them. So now you got $200 to do it. I'm going to charge you at least $100 in case I mess one up, plus another $200. So I'm going to charge you probably $500 to replace those cables because they have to make two of them and they have to be exactly the same. You know, it's not like the ones now that you can just twist them. If they're a little bit off, you can twist them. You can't twist a steel cable. There's no twisting it at all. You know, best, you know, you might get a half a twist in them, you know, as you hook them up one way or the other, but that's it. And, you know, if you have an old steel cable, you're not gonna get them replaced.
Well,
And converting it to the other style, probably not gonna work very well.
yeah, time to get a new bow at that point.
Yeah, you know, if they're that old, get a new bow. You go to a pawn shop and get a used
The
one.
technology is so good now on bows that, you know, a lot of people ask me, well, where should I go to get a bow? I said, go whoever sells them on consignment. Your first bow doesn't have to be a brand new, latest, whatever technology bow. You don't know if you like this yet. Go buy yourself a used bow, have that pro shop set it up for you, show you how to shoot it. And next year you're going to know what you want in a bow. And then you can go that direction. But the technology is so good that it doesn't get that much better every year anymore. Where we used to see these great big gains in archery. I mean, we're, like you say, we're still shooting 320, 340 IBOs is our I mean, 352 or whatever the levitate is supposed to be. Like you say, you got to shoot the lightest possible arrow you can, 30 inches, 70 pounds to even come close to that, you know. But that just lets us know, you know, what the range of everything is. But we haven't made that big jump in technology. We don't have compared to rifles, we don't have Magnum loads,
Right.
You know what I mean? So your bow shoots what it shoots, and all these major manufacturers come out with really cool new things every year. But really what we're getting is quieter, better holding, more let off, lighter. These are the cool technology things, the advances that we're getting in archery. We're not necessarily getting that much faster anymore. It seems like to get a 400 feet per second bow is in without pulling 90 pounds or being 8 foot tall is almost impossible. So
if you want
which
those
is
kind of
fine.
speeds, go to crossbow.
Well, yeah. And even those, a crossbow, I know there's a lot of guys that like them and use them. And here in Arizona, you can use them. You have to be handicapped to use a crossbow here. But I don't see any advances or advantages to a crossbow other than you don't have to practice a lot. It's a lot more like a rifle, but try to get a second shot is impossible. And they're not as accurate as I expect them to be. I've seen quite a few people shoot them at, you know, longer ranges, and I don't know if it's because the bolts are shorter or what's going on there, but they're not as accurate as a compound bow when I shoot up against them. So it's still a no-go for me, I guess, until I lose a limb, and I'll have to.
Well, and you don't have to have an arm to shoot a bow, compound bow.
It's true. I've seen people do it with their feet on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, actually, Matt Stutzman, I actually met him here in Nebraska here this last summer, and he was born with no arms, and he's excellent shot. He'd probably outshoot me.
Yeah, that is amazing. It's a whole other level than, you know.
Right.
than what I can even call myself as far as an archer. But
Well, and I've seen
that's
some
really
have,
fun.
yeah, I've seen some have, like the chew tabs, you bite down on it and draw out and then let go of it. And there's other ones that have little releases you can hook onto it and then use your mouth, your jaw or something, a mechanical release. You can't draw a lot of weight, if you're using your teeth to bite on a tab where you can hook it, where it straps onto you and, you're still shooting. And, like I say pretty much just about every episode, what is archery? A stick with a string flinging another stick.
Yeah, yeah.
That's archery. And, prove me wrong. They prove that as an archery.
Hey, some of my favorite bows I made when I was little. We would cut the wood down from a sapling, and then you'd take all the bark off, and we would let it dry for like 3 days up on the roof. And then I had all this kite string, that red kind of waxy kite string from the 70s. And that's what I used for bowstring for years and years and years. I'd wear it out, break it, and put another string on there. And I used to run around and all day, when I was younger. That's all we did was make bows and shoot stuff with it. But
yeah, that's a lot of fun, especially when you make your own bow. And that I
Yeah.
haven't done yet. I made lots of strings, but haven't made it a bow myself yet. And
Well, who knows if they were worth anything? They worked when you're little. That's half of it.
right.
It's Legos. And I don't know. I love it. But
Well, and I know I interviewed a guy from South Africa, and he's in the group. You can go back and listen to that one. But he started out, wanted a bow, couldn't afford one, made his own bow and string. And then I forget whether his mom or sister or aunt or somebody gave him an arrow. So he had one arrow for the longest time. And he's developed now, he makes bows that he sells all over the country, the different places. And he's I think the only one or the main supplier of wooden arrows for all of South Africa.
is he really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So anybody listen, you have to go back and listen to that interview. That was an amazing story. And there's just so many things. That's why I like doing this, because I get to talk to people all over the world, from Serbia, like South Africa, of course, United States, Canada, Spain, all kind of different places. And, I like to talk to them. If you can speak English or we can work it out, hey, you're fair game. If you're an archer or like archery, want to learn archery, you're right for this podcast as well as the group, because that's what we're doing. And, not really to plug the group, but I'm going to plug the group. In the Arch Talk 101 Facebook group, we don't allow you to post any links because I want it all pure content for archers. If you are having a problem with your form, you're not sure what's going on, upload a video of you shooting. And somebody's going to take a look at it. Somebody with an experience, like myself. I've been an archery instructor since '95, and there's other instructors in there. And then there's new instructors with new techniques. And I'm kind of more of an old school. I was in martial arts for many years and then become an archery instructor. So I kind of merged the two together in the way I teach. But, when you go in, like if you were taught anybody, this is how I do it. Now, how can we make it work for you? What do we have to change? And that's the whole thing, is it's all about making you a better shot.
Yeah.
And, I know my way of teaching works pretty good because I've helped a lot of people make better shots, get tighter groups. And, my goal is teaching is to make you a better shot than I am. So if you can get out there and outshoot me, I did my job. Because I taught you everything I know and you took it and went a little bit further with it. So now then you can teach somebody else to be better than you. And next thing you know, we just kind of snowball into, everybody's getting better.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, archery does that for you anyway. I can take an archery hunter and make him a really good rifle hunter, but I can't take a rifle hunter and make him a really good archery hunter.
Right.
And that's the difference, archery just in itself, as far as marksmanship, you have to develop so many things, and it's a lot more like golfing, right? Your form, practice, repetition, muscle memory all comes into that. It also does in firearms the same way, but it's a lot easier to be consistent with a firearm than it is a bow, and that's why people prefer firearm. You can be less consistent. You don't have to practice. You can be a lot farther away. So to me, that's somebody who's willing to sling a sharp stick is already in that mindset of I'm going to be the best I can at this, and I can take somebody who shoots his bow every day and I put them on a gun and they can shoot already. But you can't
Right.
take somebody that goes to the range, a few times a year and shoots their rifle and put them on a bow and have them hit anything. It's a whole different game. But it's funny how one leads into the other, but the other doesn't necessarily lead into one. So it's kind of
kind of a one-way door.
Yeah. Well,
It's
I saw
hard
one
to
of
do
my
that.
favorite bumper stickers I've ever seen, and I'm still mad at myself for not buying it. It said archery. It looked like a dictionary definition of a word, right? It says archery. It says taking something that's almost impossible and making it way harder. And I don't know why I didn't buy it. It was like, that's such a cool sticker, and I wish I would have bought that sticker. But that's the truth. I think about that all the time. Hunting in itself already is quite a challenge. And if you're a hunter, you know that. I think maybe if you don't hunt, the optics of that are a lot different. I hear that quite
Right.
a bit. Well, let's give the deer a gun. Let's give the deer a bow and see. You're right. If you did that, we wouldn't exist because they're way better at this game than we are. So we have to have a weapon to do this because we just don't have what it takes to jump on their back and bite them in the neck.
No.
It's just not going to happen. But that's what we need to stay alive. So I love it. I love the game. I love getting ready for the game. I like thinking about the game. I like helping other people get ready for the game. So for me, that's how I've kind of tried to tailor my life. And where I'm getting to now, especially with my company, is that we can help you put in for your draw. You can draw your tags. We can build your weapon of choice. We can do all your camouflage. We can scout your areas with you. We can take you on your hunt, help you harvest that animal, so that we can just take our client all the way through the year and just have amazing experiences and memories. And that's really what I want to do anyway. I'm the most happy when I'm sitting on a mountaintop or in the woods or something, so.
Now, if somebody wanted to take you up on some of your services, how would they get a hold of you?
They can go right on my website. It's carnimore.com, and my phone number is right on there. So I'm still where our website is live now, but I'm still adding a bunch of that stuff in as far as the guiding portion of it, our local inventory, t-shirts, stickers, patches, all that kind of stuff isn't up there yet, but I'm working. That's kind of one of the things I'm supposed to be working on today. But yeah, they can just get a hold of me, give me a call, give me an email. My email's on there. You can always hit me up we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. So social media, as unfriendly as they are to the hunting and firearms and archery community, really is where I get most of my business, because I just use it as a great big billboard. I just put all my work up there constantly, pictures of deer and all the paint jobs we're doing and all the rifles we're building and everything. And that's how people have been getting a hold of me. But we're real excited to put this all together. We're actually going to do a training side of the company, so we're starting that up. And we're just having fun. It keeps getting better and better. So
Yeah, that sounds like it. So if somebody wants to take you up on that and they want to do archery, then you can set them up archery and say, okay, well, I want to do with a firearm, and then you can set them up for that, and what's the best weapon to use in this situation. Maybe you're in a really heavy forest area, and that rifle is just not going to do you much good because you can't get very far.
Right.
So then in the type of rifle you use might be different. You're not going to use like a 7mm mag, when you can only reach out 50 yards.
Exactly.
You might go with like a 30-30 or something, or something a little smaller.
Right.
It's designed for that close quarters. You're not going to use a great big, 4 to 16 power scope on your rifle when you only see 50 yards,
Right.
When I was sighting in my Browning, it'll go up to 16 power. Well, I put it on my bench. I could put the crosshairs in the middle of the hole I just shot. And it being a reloader, I was able to reload a load that would allow me to put 3 shots in the same hole. So now I know it's dead on accurate where it's at. And then, when you look at ballistics, same thing in archery, you got your different ballistics, where you're going. Like in the firearm, I got 26 yards at the indoor range and I run the analysis on it. I'm a couple inches high at 100, dead on at 200, about 3 inches low at 300 with the .6 at the speed I'm shooting. Short range for a bow. Maybe you got a 5-foot shot. What pin do you use? You're sure not going to use your 20-yard pin. You just shot way under it.
Yeah.
You're going to have to use like a 60 or 70-yard pin. Right. And people don't realize that, with a rifle, the barrel points up, so it moves up and down through the arc. The same thing with a bow. With a bow, your eyes are here, your peep is here, but your arrow's down here.
Yeah.
For those listening, your arrow's up at your eyes, your sight and peep is at your eyes, your arrow's down at your mouth. So now you have that 2-3 inch difference. So if you put your pin right where you're at when it leaves the bow, you're shooting way low. And at some point they're going to meet and then they're going to start dropping back down again. And it's all that stuff that we need to, figure out. And, like the rifle, you do your dope sheets, okay, at this range, you're going to do there. You need to do the same thing for your bow. What do I need to do? I got a 20, 30, 40, and 50-yard pin. Or I got a 20, 30, 40, 60-yard pin, whatever I haven't set up for. But how do I shoot it if it's in between 2 pins? What do I do? So I have a 40-yard pin and I think it's 42 yards. I can't go between them. I got to figure, okay, where do I need to go? So you need to figure all this out. And, that's why we practice different ranges. Go out there and do that.
Closer is a challenge because of that. But most people, if you're in front of your first pin, don't understand why they're hitting so low. But exactly what you're saying is right. The longer you go out, your arrow actually crosses your sight line twice.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
as it's rising and then dropping.
Exactly. And you can use that, doing all the 3D shoots like the hike to hunt event and stuff we have here. It's in a few states now, but we love that one because he'll actually have branches and stuff in the way on an 87-yard shot, and so it teaches you to actually pin the branch.
Right.
Because your arrow is going to go over it. And because that branch is blocking that vital view of that deer, but at 87 yards, that branch at 40 yards isn't actually in your way. So you don't have to move for a clear line shot because you can still make that kill. And it's really helpful to go through that kind of stuff because you almost gain all of that hunting knowledge. Because normally we wouldn't get any of that, like you actually have to be out in the field to gain that knowledge. Now we have all these cool events that you can actually be hunting the whole time. And that's how we look at it, man. We gear up, I paint my face, we do the whole thing because I'm doing these 14 miles and these 4 different courses, like I'm hunting today. And it's a blast. We have a blast with it. So, and it just gets
that's what keeps it fun. And I know, I talk to different people at different events and there's all kinds of different archery events you can go to. And, the 3D was the ones that I had the most fun at. I'm not really much for a target shooter. I prefer the hunting ones. And I always thought, hunter class should be scored differently because normally you score them 5, 8, 10, 12, or whatever you have for normally 5, 8, 10. That's the basic ones that you're going to run. Well, as a hunter, I don't want a 5. It actually should be -5.
Yeah.
Because that's a wounded animal.
Right.
So you got 8, 10, if you want to go through 12, so just an 8, 10, or -5. So if you make 1 10 shot and 1 5 shot, you got 5 points instead of 15.
That would make more sense. We my hunting partners, we did kind of develop our own scoring. Very similar to that. We didn't do point deductions, but if you didn't hit in the 8 or the 10, it's just zero. Regardless, that's no points. Does it, but I like the deduction idea on it, because if you're just wounding animals all day, you can end up with a negative score.
Right.
That's a good idea.
You could still end up with a decent score just by wounding every animal you shoot. And,
Yeah,
that
that's
makes
no
you,
good.
think more as a hunter and not as just a phone target shooter,
The only thing better, and this technology doesn't exist yet, but for people making bad hits, if you had to make them blood trail the animal for the rest of the day, and they wouldn't be able to shoot any more targets, maybe that would teach a few lessons.
Oh, yeah. Or at least you can't shoot the next target because you're trailing the other animal.
Yeah,
It's
because
okay.
you're out for half an hour trailing blood or something. That would be a way.
Yeah, you get a -5 on that target, but you get a 0 on the next target because you can't shoot it because you're out trying to track an animal. That would make an interesting scoring,
And that's
for those.
it would be that would make it pretty cool.
And then to make it a little bit more realistic, it's like, okay, if you don't think you can make this shot at this distance, you get to move up where you can make it. So now okay, I can't make this 40-yard shot. I'm going to wound an animal. I'm going to get a -5. But if I can go up and say, okay, I can do this at 20. So now you go up and you shoot yours at 20. And then now everybody goes at, now you don't want everybody going up to 20 because that really wouldn't make sense. But it's like, okay, I don't feel comfortable making this at 40. I'm going to make it at 20. And then you have, I can't make this shot. And then you can't make it. So then you say, okay, I can't make this shot. So the worst you can do is 0. It's like, okay, I'm opt out not shooting it. You get a 0 for the target. But if you want to shoot it and take a -5, then you hope you miss it.
Oh, and then there's you always, there's the consequence of losing your arrow too. We always shoot from the cone, and we're always on people about doing that. I get it with kids and stuff. They don't have, if it's a 60-yard shot, I get it. But that teaches you too. You don't even have to take a point deduction. Every arrow these days costs you $20.
Right.
So if you've only gone half a course and you're already 8 arrows down, that hurts. Pretty soon you don't even want to shoot from the cone. That's why you see these guys going up and taking the real close shot, because they're realizing that they're not necessarily wounding animals. It's just costing them money. They're not even hitting animals at those ranges.
I know when I went my first 3D shoot, I forget how many arrows I had, like maybe 6 or 8 arrows. And I was like, okay, a few targets in, it's like down an arrow. I was like, can I finish the target with the arrows I brought? And then it's like, okay, I did get all of them done. I still have an arrow left, or 2 or whatever it was. I don't remember now. It's been decades ago. And then you go to the next one. It's like, okay, now I lost a little more. And it's like, okay, now I finally made it with all my arrows.
Yeah.
And then you go in and it's like, okay, now I want to average at least an 8 on all my targets. Now that means an average of an 8 means that you've made a decent kill. So for every one that you get really good, you got to get a couple good ones if you have one bad one, because you're down 3 points. So now that means you've got to get some 10s to make up for that. You need to get a couple of 10s to keep your average up. And they're just all kinds of things that you can think is, okay, I need to do this. And the biggest part was when my buddy went, we didn't care where we come in. All we cared is that we got a higher score than the other one.
And then than each other.
Yeah, because it's who got to give it and who got to take it on the way home.
Well, we always did that. It's how many drinks you got to buy, how many arrows you lose, how many rounds you got to buy. So then nobody wants to lose arrows all day, because we're just chalking that up. Well, that's another drink on you. So
yeah, all kinds of fun things that you can do, and whether you get a trophy or not, really doesn't matter, because I'm shooting against me. I want to do better this time than I did last time, and that's just what you want to do. And some events, I know there's some events now that, like team events, like at your college level, there'll be an archery team. So it's a team score as well as an individual score. And, that is all just a different world. College archery is different than, when you're in junior high and high school. The NAS program is different than the college level. And that's different than everything else. And there's just so many things you can do with archery, from, bow fishing, that's always fun. Going out bow fishing.
I still haven't done that. I got invited, so I need to go do that.
It's different. I use a recurve for that just because the way you shoot, I look at the target, draw back. I don't look at arrows. I don't do the string walking, which, I'm still kind of figuring that one out. But I draw back, look at the target and shoot. I don't look at the arrow. I don't reference off the arrow because if reference off the arrow, I'm going to put a sight on it. That's my thinking anyway. And it's a different weapon. I pick up the recurve, it's a different weapon. I pick up the compound, it's a different weapon. I pick up the handgun, it's a different weapon. Pick up the rifle, the shotgun. They're all different. They're all shot differently.
Yeah.
All similar. And, one of the things like you was talking about earlier, going from rifle to bow, rifle shooters take and put their finger on the tip of the finger goes on the trigger and you pull. Well, that's a fine motor skill because you don't need fine motor skills to aim. Well, on a bow, it's reversed. You need your fine motor skills to control the bow. So I see a lot of them that will try and use the tip of the finger to try and pull the trigger. Not right for a bow. And that's hard to teach rifle hunters how to do that. Move it back that second finger and don't pull the trigger. Use your back to pull through. Yeah, and that's the biggest struggle I see out of not just rifle hunters going to archery, but just archers that don't know any different. They just think you have to pull the trigger. And I've helped many people fix that problem and take their groups from 6-8 inch groups down to 1-2 inch groups.
Oh yeah, that target panic and punch in the release, that's the two biggest things other than your form that are gonna throw everything wonky. So
well, and punch in the release is going to give you target panic.
Yeah, exactly.
That I've seen it many times. And I says, if you're going to pull that trigger, you're going to have target panic. Because what happens is I've seen this, in myself as well as other people, is because the pin's going to move. You're never going to get it stopped unless you mount it in a fixture. It's not going to stop. So it's going to move. And the first thing you do is you don't look at the pin, you look at your target, because if you look at the pin, you're going to hit wherever you're looking at the pin. If you look at the target, you put it over. Well, then what happens with you have your finger out, I've seen people with their finger clear by their eye, they're ready to shoot and just reach down and slam that trigger. They're like, okay, so let's say you're not quite that bad. You just got the tip of the finger on there. You get ready to shoot. You see that pin go across the target. You say, okay, pull the trigger, moves off. Oh, don't shoot. And then you jerk. And now next thing you know, you start doing this all the time. You start jerking every time you get ready to shoot because the pin moves off. Well, if you look at the target, put the finger here, you aim, you start pulling through. You don't know when it goes off. It should be a total surprise shot. And I've done that with many people, and other instructors I've talked to have done it as well, is have them aim, finger off the trigger. Now, if you're using a handheld, it's a bit different. You can't do that, but it's wrist strap, which most people start with because the handheld ones are not beginner releases. Yeah. And now then their fingers off the trigger. And it's like, okay, you aiming? Okay, aim. I'm going to pull the trigger when I want to pull the trigger. So all you do is aim, and I'll pull that trigger. And 9 times out of 10, they hit exactly where they were aiming. It's like that's right there. That I've been doing that for years, since probably.
My trick is I tell them to pull with this part of their elbow, and they don't know what I'm talking about. But if you focus and pull with the back part of your elbow, it's the same as trying to get them to pull with the back. But somebody who's just starting in archery doesn't understand what pull with your back means. I'll just say, point that elbow directly away from the target and point and just release with that elbow. I want you to pull that elbow. And that works for me when I'm trying to explain that to people.
What I'll do is I'll put my hand on their elbow and say, push on my hand.
Yeah.
So now then they're pushing on the hand, and that forces go off.
Yeah.
And, I was like, okay, like you got a pencil trying to squeeze between your shoulder blades, all kinds of
Yes.
different things to do. And when you get a recurve in longbows, that's a little bit different, still same technique, but a little bit different. You're rotating around, and now when you're rotating around, my body won't let me go too far back just because it don't move that way. Um, the funny part is when I see people, it's like, no, you're supposed to relax and the hand in is flying back. Well, they'll shoot the target's in the air, already gone in the target, and then the hand comes back. or finger shooters, they'll release the string, it's already at the target, and then their hand will move back. It's like, okay, you got the idea, just the concept is there, but the execution is off.
Yeah.
And my hand don't fly back just because of the way mine is. It just for some reason it just never flies back. But some do. I was talking to a guy when I was down at the dealer school, and he shoots the gorilla ones, the 90 pounds. And he was shooting, and when it goes off, his arm comes flying straight back. And the hand extends to the target, the only comes back, so like an iron cross almost. And this guy was watching him shoot, and he wasn't paying attention because he was shooting. Guy standing back, all of a sudden he got a little bit too close, and he smacked the guy on the face. The hand comes like, boom, smacked him in the face. Like, don't get that close to an archer behind him.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
And when you're helping somebody too, you got to be careful of that too, because they could all of a sudden shoot and you're not expecting. So, I'm kind of, you got to kind of put your hands on to make sure it's like, okay, don't shoot yet, and go back around there. And it's a lot of fun teaching.
I have a lot of fun with it. Even with hunting, I think it's more fun to guide or to help out on a hunt than it actually is to be the shooter anymore. Number one, there's no pressure on me. I can just completely go with my gut and tell you what to do. Whereas when I got my bow, I second guess myself all the time, and I don't do that when I'm helping other people for some reason. It's is that the right decision? Should I really be doing that? If I'm out there helping you hunt, I'm telling you, no, get over that ridge. No, go now. Go. Go get there, which is really what I should be listening to myself all the time. But I feel so good. We don't even have to get an animal on the ground. If an arrow gets knocked today, I feel like I won, because it's just hard out here.
Right.
Hard out here to get that. So we've been super fortunate. The animals that we have here in Arizona are just amazing. We've got 10 big game species, and we have amazing herds, elk, and our mule deer are amazing, Coos whitetail. We have so many turkeys, and the Coos whitetail, that's the best tasting. I don't know if you've hunted them. I'm sure you probably have. But
not the coos, the whitetail, but not the coos.
The gray ghost is what they call them, and they are such a challenge to get. But they are the best tasting deer I've ever had in my life. Which it figures that God made them the smallest. It's like,
right.
Mule deer, they taste sagey, and maybe the worst venison, still by far better than anything you can go get in the store. But
right.
but then we have the reverse on the other side. We have the best tasting ones here too. So it's just amazing. Unfortunately, we don't have big enough herds that we can hunt more than one deer a year, but we do here in this state, archery, we can get over the counter tags. So that really helps. And no matter what, I'm hunting deer, a month and a half every year with a bow in my hand. So I love that, because moving here from Michigan, at first I was quite frustrated with the draw process and having to draw a tag for species and whatnot. Now I'm used to it. I actually like it. I kind of plan my year by it and help other people do the same. We have a hunting group, a carnivore hunting group. And so we all put in for hunts, and then no matter what, we're going hunting. Whoever draws a tag, we're going to be there helping out, so it goes pretty good, fills the freezers and lets us explore the great state of Arizona. I will be going up to Montana this year for a cow elk hunt. So that'll be fun to go hunt elk out of state. But yeah, I can't wait to, it's funny. I can go 3 or 4 days without shooting my bow, and I start feeling a little bit guilty. Oh man, I should be out there. I should go shoot my bow. I bring it in to get a new string, and my bow's down for a couple days, and it's like I can't take it. Just the fact that my bow's not hanging in the shop waiting for me to take it down and go shoot. I like if I can't go out and shoot my target right now for some reason, that's super frustrating to me. But I'm gonna try the gas ghost string this time. They seem pretty cool, and I haven't shot with one of those yet, so we'll see if it keeps its speed. But I don't know how much we're really supposed to shoot a bowstring. I have a feeling I shoot it way over what you're supposed to shoot a string, but I end up replacing them every 2 years. I probably should replace them every year, but I shoot a lot. So that new, they were showing me down at the shop, Arizona Archery Club, that those gas strings look pretty sweet. They're already pretty slick. Don't require a lot of wax, so I'm going to give that a shot. See if I like them this year.
Yeah, I know it kind of depends on whether or not you wax your string. I've seen bows. It's like within 3 months, their bow string is got fibers all over it. It's just all worn out. It's like, you wax it? No. I'm like, well, you need to. And I tell guys, like, your string's going to last you a while if you wax it. If you don't, you're going to be back in 6 months when you need a new string. And I told this guy one time, it's like, here it is. And he had the string wax, bought the string wax and left it on the counter. So he come back, he's like, did you forget something? I said, you're good. I tell him, it's like, you're going to lose it before you use it all up. So don't worry about using it. Use it. And it's some of those, like the Scorpion stuff, they got that little leather piece in there. I tell them, take that, throw it away. Don't use it. Put your fingers on it, rub your fingers. Because what can happen is if you're rubbing your fingers, it gets hot, you're going to burn your fingers, or they're going to feel hot. You take that leather, you can actually rub that leather, get that so hot that you actually burn your string. So I said, use your fingers. It doesn't hurt your fingers. It's a wax. It won't hurt them at all. In fact, it's probably good for your skin. So just put that on there with the string, run your hand over the. And I said, do that every time before you go out hunting. And the reason is not just to get a good coat of wax, but now you got your fingers on the string. And if all of a sudden you go along and you feel this big knot, something's wrong. So you're actually feeling the string all the way around everything where you can get the wax on it. And now it's in good shape. You've got a good coat of wax on it, because going through the brush, you're going to be rubbing grasses and whatnot on your string, possibly. Depends on how you carry them in. There are covers that cover up the strings so they're not exposed. But that way you have a coat of wax on it, you've had your fingers on it, and you don't have a problem with string. Because when would you rather know there's a problem with string, before you go out, or once you're out there and draw back and your spring breaks?
Hey, I had that on my DNA. I just put a new string on, and actually we set it up to one of my buddies is shooting that bow now. I shot my javelina, and that was the last shot I took with it, was a kill, because I knew my string was getting old, and I had said I'm gonna have to replace this string pretty soon. But I even joked about it with my buddy. I said, yeah, that's probably the last shot I took with this bow. I got to go get a new string. At least my last shot was a kill. And I put that bow in my shop. I hung it on, I've got a little bow hanger. The next morning I came down, and the limbs of my bow and cams were laying on the floor. That string exploded in the middle of the night, hanging there on the wall. So I got super lucky that it didn't happen on that last shot, first of all. And it was just so weird that I had said, well, that's probably the last shot I took with that string. And it was the last shot I took with that string was a kill. But had the bow checked out. Everything was fine with it. It just let go. It was time. I hunted with it way too long, apparently. And I also don't wax my strings as much as I should. I don't like having too much wax on my string. I feel like it stiffens it and slows it down a little bit. But I only notice that when I am shooting 80, 90 yards. Yeah, I can tell if I just wax my string, I'm going to be about 2 inches low. And so I'm real careful when I do wax. I do the dental floss trick. I'm sure you know that, for cleaning the wax off.
Yeah.
But other than that, I probably should be waxing way more than I do. But
Well, and our listeners may not know what that is. Maybe you could explain what the dental floss trick is
okay,
for
so
removing
after
wax.
once you, like you say, you take your fingers and you rub that wax. I even like to heat the wax a little bit. I'll take a lighter and kind of heat the end of my wax and then put it on the string so it's nice and pliable and I can get it in all the fibers. And like you say, you rub it back and forth, heat that up, melt it into your string a little bit. Well, you're always going to be left with excess bowstring wax. And so what I do is I take a piece of dental floss and I wrap it around the string and I just hold both ends and I go up and down and it shaves all of that extra wax that doesn't need to be on the outside of your string, because really you just want it on the inside in your fibers. And I take all of that off, and it's amazing how much you can actually get using a piece of dental floss. And that way I feel like I'm not slowing my string down too much and I'm still protecting it as good as I can. And so that's what I do, because I used to just put it on there and then I would have globs of wax, it seemed like, that were on my string all the time. So and that was before the little speed knocks and stuff. Maybe it was actually making my bow faster, I don't know. But yeah, I use the dental floss and it cleans it right off real well. I suppose other fishing line probably would do the same thing, but I just use dental floss, keep it in the shop. So
Well, and it can be used for other things too, if you need to put a little extra spacing. Yeah, clean your teeth. Yeah, when you eat that piece of meat and it sticks in your teeth, you need the dental floss to kind of dual purpose. But yeah, one of the things that affect the speed, like we've alluded to, is the weight of the string. Anytime you add something to the string, it's going to add weight. You add weight to the string, it slows it down. And then when the string slows down, of course, your speedy arrow slows down. And everything you add, you got to consider, what am I gaining for losing the speed? In waxing, of course, you're gaining longevity to your string, for a slight decrease in speed. Like I say, if you're shooting, long range, you're going to make a difference. At 20 yards, you can have all kinds of wax globbed on it. It ain't going to make a difference.
you won't know. Yeah, you won't know.
And you don't need globs of wax on it. I've seen strings that have just caked of wax on them. It's like, no, take your fingers, rub up and down. It's going to heat it up, work it in, and then, like you do, clean them off so that you don't have all this excess in there. A lot of people just put on so much of it. That's what I like about the scorpion waxes. It's kind of more of a paste type instead of a solid, like the old wax used to be. And you put your finger in there, you get it on your fingers, and then you rub it in. And, that keeps you from getting too much on it.
I'm going to have to try that stuff. Like you said, I think at probably 1994, I bought a couple of the America's Best bowstring wax. They look like the big chapstick. I still have them. I mean, they're both probably still half or more.
I got 3 or 4 of those around, and I've got some scorpion, and scorpion is so much easier to use.
I'll have to check that out.
And I think it's a little better because it'll actually soaks in a little better than the harder wax. You could even just use some beeswax.
Yeah.
It's a wax, it's lubricant, and that's what they used to use on the old strings, is beeswax.
I've even used deodorant.
Yeah, as long as there's some chemicals in there that I'd be careful with, but
I think you're right, but I have used it in the past.
Yeah, it's better than nothing. Actually, I've used chapstick before.
Yeah.
Because that's basically a wax, paraffin wax. For those that don't know, a toilet bowl ring is beeswax.
Yeah, that's true.
And I've done that, taken an old deodorant thing and stuff it full of that wax. And I go and put a screw or bolt in, a nail, I'll just stick it in there, and they drive in so much easier when you put them in what some woods are really hard.
Oh yeah.
Like in our house is built in, late 1800s, and the wood 2x4s that have been in here for 100 and some years.
Yeah,
and it is hard and dense. You can't hardly drive a nail into it, so you almost have to pre-drill it to drive a nail in it, but the waxing helps. And You know, that's what I used to do. Anytime I mount anything, I would take, you know, as I'm putting accessories on and getting all adjusted, and then I'm going to take the screw out. I'm going to put a little wax. I use like a candle wax, you know, or paraffin wax that you use for doing jellies and stuff. And I just rub the bolt across it and stick it in. It gets tighter and it's easier to put in. And then I don't have trouble with screws coming loose. And then a lot of times you take the screw out, and all of a sudden they break loose and pop, and a little spark. You have a little spark. I learned that trick when I was competitive roller skating. You know, the toe stops you jump off would always keep twisting. And guys said, pull them out, put wax on the bolt, put it back in. Never had a toe stop twist after that. You know, so then I started working on bows. Everybody knows when I'm done putting accessories on, because I'm pulling the bolt out, putting wax on it, and putting it back in. You know, like, okay, screws and bolts don't come out.
Yeah, that's a good trick. That's a good trick. I'm gonna have to do that.
And you can do that on a rifle too, on
Yeah.
you know, like the scope mounting bolts or anything else. Put a little wax on them and stick them in, and it also helps keep them from rusting. You know, because you're lubricating them with the, you know, the wax, and you're going to get them tighter without having to put so much force on them.
Yeah. Huh.
All those little tricks you learn over the years.
Right. That's right. Yeah. The older I get, the more tricks I learn, but the more I forget too. So
Yeah, we all have that problem. And like sometimes that, you know, different things that I've been doing for decades, and feels like I forgot how to do more than you will ever know how to do. And you know, sometimes it's bragging, sometimes it's just that's fact. You know, when I've been doing it for decades, and you're only a couple decades old, you know, like, you know, I forgot more than what you know.
yeah. I'm getting there. My kids, like, yeah, they're grown, you know, now, but they like to remind me that I'm getting old and senile. So
Yeah, yeah, and you're not that old.
yeah, I keep telling myself that too, but I like it when you talk to me that way.
Well, compared to me, you're just a young kid.
Yeah, maybe almost 50. So I'm getting,
Oh,
you know,
almost 50.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting close to 70. I'm 68.
Yeah.
So 50 is nothing.
50's nothing. I'm just a kid.
Yeah.
No, I love it. That's one thing. I actually get more patient as I get older. So it's really worked out with bow hunting, because when I was younger, I blew so many shots and so many stocks because I just wanted to get it done. And the older I get, I think maybe that experience also goes into it, but also I'm just slowing down. I end up being way more successful with my bow when I hunt because I have to slow down. And maybe that's another rule or a lesson that I'm always trying to teach to these younger guys when they're picking up a bow and we're going hunting and they want me to show them how to bow hunt, is that it's okay to just slow down. You know, there is a time where you're going to have to act and move really fast, but on the whole, we're not going to jog into this hunt. You know, we're not going to blow this, and that has made me way better. Is just slowing down. You know, but it's the ultimate challenge. I love it so much that I can't wait to ever do it. So I think about it every day. I shoot my bow. I go to sleep thinking about hunting. I wake up thinking about hunting. So I've got it bad.
Yeah. Well, I know I had a story I was either listened to or heard, read about. I forget who it was now. It's been a long time ago now, but he was an old guy, and he says, I don't move very fast, so I move slow through the forest, you know, and, you know, what's a squirrel do in the forest? A few steps, stop, a few steps, stop. So he'd take a few steps and stop. And he says, I don't see very well, so I have to look a lot. So he takes a few steps, stops, looks around, you know, he'll look left, right, and just look around, then take a few more steps. And he says, you know, doing that, he's walked up on deer way closer than what you ever thought you would have, you know, because they turn around and look, they're going to see something. If you're not silhouetted, you know, like like the guy here, he's kind of silhouetted, but it makes a cool looking picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those listening, there's a sky on the background and ground. The ground's all black, and then the archer, the full draw on a compound with a deer in his sights, and he's standing at the top of the hill. And
That's a
sometimes
nice little.
sometimes I forget that some people can only listen, so I have to describe stuff once in a while. But when you get silhouette like that, and I had the same thing when I setting up a tree stand. I said that, and it's like, why that deer also look up? And I get on the ground, it's like, oh, because I'm sticking out like a sore thumb right on the middle of it. It just this big thing in the way. And so then I think about that when I'm setting up the tree stand, so that when they look up, they're seeing me and the tree behind me. Where
Yeah.
you kind of predict really coming out. I've set up many times for 20-yard shot at the trail, and those darn deer, they don't pay attention to the trail. They'll come in at 5 yards, 10 yards.
Yeah.
You know,
Sometimes. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'll tell you a story. We were turkey hunting on the north rim of the Grand Canyon, and I had got my turkey the day before, and so my two buddies also had a tag, and we were going to go hit this frozen water hole, because we noticed that what happened is the cattle comes in and breaks up the water or the ice on the water in the morning, and these turkeys wait for that. They actually wait. They can hear the cows and the breaking ice. The cows move off, and the turkeys all come down to get a drink. So
oh,
we sat up to ambush them, and my buddy Jeff and Daniel, they're sitting underneath this evergreen tree with their shotguns and face masks and everything, 20 yards from the water. They were pretty close, and I was actually outside that tree, kind of by another tree uphill from, so that I could get a shot on video of them in the tree and the turkeys coming in. And I had my ghillie suit on, and I'm like, hey, this is going to be really cool, guys, which I did. I got both of they doubled on turkeys that morning, and I got it all on video, which was
cool.
great. But didn't hear anything. We had seen some deer come into the water, and of course the cows came in and whatnot. And all of a sudden, I felt something pull on my ghillie suit on my left shoulder, and I turned to look, and it was a buck, a mule deer buck. He come all the way down the hill, never heard him, and he decided to check out what kind of bush I was. And I kind of jumped, and he jumped because it scared him. He takes off. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And we ended up doubling on turkeys, but I don't even know why I started that story. Oh, just because I wasn't skylined, and I was completely a bush, and so to the deer, there's nothing. He was just curious. He was going to check it out. But I get popped by deer because they're curious, which is almost it's more successful than getting popped by deer because they're scared of you and know you're there. But there's no time to take a shot or get ready or anything when it's that fast. You're doing such a good job. Of course, we're hunting turkeys, no deer tag, but just the fact that one would come and munch on the back of my ghillie suit has always tripped my trigger. I love that stuff, but I wish I would have got that.
Yeah, that'd have been cool on video.
I got him running away. I got him running away. I got the tail going up the hill, but I didn't get him. But
yeah, because it surprised you. You turned around and scared him, and he took off. And
yeah, he was just as scared as I was. But it is amazing how close that they'll get to you just out of curiosity. We were on a bison hunt again in that same unit. It would be 12A West here in Arizona, up on the north rim of the Grand Canyon. And we were sitting a water tank waiting for the bison to come in. And there was 3 of us, and we all fell asleep in the woods. We were all kind of sitting by each other. And I didn't know the other guys were sleeping, but I woke up, and a doe was actually stepping over me. I'm laying on the ground, and my head kind of propped up on a log, and I opened my eyes, and the doe was actually stepping over me, walking right over me. There was a group of 4 does and a fawn that had just come to check us out, and we were sleeping, so there was no danger, and they didn't care. Now, as soon as I moved to see if anybody else had noticed what was going on, and I wanted to get it recorded on my phone, and they take off. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's pretty cool how curious they actually can be. Now they'll come right in and look at you, but But I love it. I have so many cool experiences out here, and every year I get more of them. You know, there's stories and memories that people come to me with now that I forgot about already. You know,
Oh, yeah.
remember that one time we were hunting up over here, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I do remember that, but I kind of forgot about that one. But I love it. I've got my soon-to-be stepson. Uh, Now just finished his hunter's ed here in Arizona, and we went to the field day, and he learned how to shoot and whatnot. And uh, uh, getting him a bow, restringing the bow, and so pretty soon he's going to start learning how to shoot. He's 13, and so that's also going to open up to a lot of like youth hunting opportunities. So that's going to be awesome because I'll get to take him to a bunch of really cool stuff, and kind of hopefully get to pass that on. And because there's not a lot of people that get into it anymore, and when they do, like I was saying earlier, I tell them go buy a used bow first and give it a shot, because especially out here in Arizona, you have to draw for your opportunity to go hunt something. Well, that fire goes out in people,
Right.
especially when they're new to the sport and just getting into it. If you don't draw a tag pretty soon, if you don't actually get out in the field, then that goes away. Then your mountain bike starts looking a lot better, and you're gonna spend money on the bowling league or whatever you're into. But that fire goes out. So I think it's real important to get that fire lit early and get people in the woods early. And I like all the youth hunting opportunities we have here, because it gets people out. By the time these kids become adults, they already have a lot of hunting experience under their belt. That's how it was when I grew up. We hunted all the time. I mean, it was all the time. So now a lot of people don't do that, and it's kind of looked at as more of a sport, which I'm fine with. I like it. I like the challenge of it. So, but I really appreciate you having me on here and just chewing the fat with me for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's so fun, all the different stories and everything is going on, and get them out in the field. They'll go on the Wii and play Archer on the Wii, but they want to shoot a real bow. Get them out starting out there shooting a real bow, and it's completely different. And it's a lot of fun doing that. And
well, and then
you just got to get them started.
You get them face to face with a 20-inch black bear like that. Now that adrenaline has them hooked for life. Not only are you right next to them, but you're going to try to shoot them with a sharp stick, and now you're hooked. I mean, there's
right.
What takes the place of that? I mean, you've got to ride a lot of roller coasters to try to get that.
Yeah.
That amount of fear and adrenaline. It's amazing. That's what I'm addicted to, I think. But
yeah, it's getting out there and just doing stuff with it, and that's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, I got that guy at about 8 yards.
Oh, that was a close one.
Yeah.
Where was you at when you got that?
That was up on by Flagstaff.
Oh, okay.
Hendrick and Slate Mountain, we got him. So, but that was a big boar. That's an Arizona state archery record.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that was my first one. So I just got lucky. I had no idea he was that big.
It just come in, presented the shot, you took it.
Yeah. It's sometimes you get lucky. I went years and years and years without shooting a buck, but my first bear ends up being a archery state record. So feels good.
Stay with it.
Yeah.
So what you gotta just stay with it, right?
It's like now I only talk about those ones, you don't talk about all the spikes and forkies and stuff that have gone into the freezer over the years. But
well, we shoot them for the meat.
Absolutely.
So how was the bear to eat?
Oh, it was amazing. It's still one of my favorites. Yeah. I heard a lot of, I've had bear, a lot growing up anyway, or a lot of different times. It was always good, but I heard a lot of horror stories. It's greasy. Everybody says that's real greasy.
Yeah.
I prefer it, I think, to a lot of stuff. It was really good. And not only him, consumed a number of bears after that, and they've all been fantastic. So there's a lot of stuff when you're introducing people to game meat, or you're showing up to a party and you're bringing the Swedish meatballs. I don't tell them until it's done. I don't tell them
Right.
until the crock pot's empty, because you tell somebody before, well, this is bear, nobody's going to touch it. They won't eat it. But if you tell it to them afterwards, they're some kind of superhero. Then now it's their favorite story. They tell everybody, I ate bear last night. But
Yeah.
you kind of have to be careful and just let them know after the fact that, oh, you didn't know that was the last bear I shot. So that's fun, introducing people to that stuff. But bear, I would say, is very high energy. Whatever they have in their meat, it's kind of like drinking a Red Bull. It really wakes you up. It's the reverse of eating turkey. There's no tryptophan in there. It actually gives you a lot of energy. There's something to it. Similar to venison, but I would say it packs a little bit more of a punch. But I love it. Javelina is good. Nobody seems to believe that you can eat javelina, but we do, and we do summer sausage with them, and it always turns out fantastic. And well, we pretty much eat everything. So
I went down to Texas and got some javelina, and like just like pork. Basically it's not much different than pork. And
yeah,
I thought it was good. Everybody says, no, they're not any good. It's like, I thought it was good.
Yeah, they're very lean. So, making bratwurst or anything out of them, they'll dry out really quick, but all the smoked stuff, the summer sausages always just turn out fantastic. And that's for all our trout fishing. That's what every trout trip, I bring a roll of summer sausage and some crackers and cheese, and that's what I eat on the boat, So I look at each one of those javelinas as 12 little fishing trips running around in the desert. So, and this year I didn't. Usually I'm pretty good about, we get 2 of them here in the state of Arizona. You can take one with the over-the-counter tag, archery, and then you have to draw for the other one, which you pretty much always draw. But I didn't this year. Actually, I did this year. I just didn't get one, which is also odd, because usually I put those guys in the freezer. But I went pigless so far this year, but I did get that Pope and Young mule deer buck in January. So that was really what I was after. I still had not harvested a big mature mule deer buck until this year. So that was my main goal. I've been on a Coos whitetail kick for the last few years, and I finally shot a Pope and Young Coos buck. And so then I thought, well, now it's time to start chasing the muleys pretty hard and get one of those in there too, because nothing excites me more than, my grandpa is really the reason why I think I'm a hunter. He's the greatest hunter. He's from Washington State, and all the stories and just growing up, everything he's hunted, I mean, it's everything. And I still call him every time I go hunting and get an animal down. He's the first person I call, and I give him the story, and he wants to know the distance and the species and where we're at and how long it took us. He wants to hear all the stories and relive it. And then on top of it, then it's so fun for him to get that Pope and Young record book and be able to look in there and go, that's my grandson, that's my grandson, that's my grandson. And he's not an archer. He does everything with a rifle. So for him, he's just super proud of me. And that, I think, feels the best. I mean, that to me is awesome, that grandpa's super proud of me for doing this, and he gets to live vicariously through me yet with a lot of my stories and experiences. And so that to me is another side benefit of it. Actually makes my relationship closer with one of the most important men in my life. So I'm lucky that he's still around and can still answer the phone and hear the stories, but he doesn't get to go out hunting much anymore, but at least and try to vicariously hunt through me. But
how old is your grandpa?
He is late 80s. He just had a birthday, I want to say 89. I think it is 89 because his 90th is the coming up, and I think we're going to go up there for that. So, but he's still kicking. He's an old dairy farmer from Washington State, and they just keep going up there.
Yeah, I know. Last year I went down to Florida, and my uncle and niece lived down there in Florida. And I drove down to the event instead of flying out so I could stop by and see him. And he was 99 at the time. He didn't drive anymore because he couldn't see well enough, but his mind was still there sharp. And I hear all the stories. And as a kid, I grew up, being around him, and it just, some of the same stories. Like I remember as a kid, he's telling the stories, what's going on, and the mind was sharp. Eyes kind of giving out on him, but mind was sharp. He could still see to get around, just not enough to drive. But yeah, it's always nice you start talking about what's going on, and help relive those things. And that was quite enjoyable, because about the only uncle I have left now. Well, a lot of my cousins are up in their 60s and 70s, and so there's not many of the next generation older around. You start getting older, and so it's always nice to be able to talk with them, especially have your grandpa still around, and they'll tell those stories to them. It's like that's that's awesome. For it. I know you get to tell the story and relive it again, and he gets to hear it, and it's just amazing that we can have that kind of a connection between our family members, all for hunting. And without that, what would we have? Without the hunting stories, they
it is a fraternity, for sure.
Right.
Because and anybody can be involved. It's really who we are as humans. It's what we do. The reason why we're here and survived to get to a place where we could develop agriculture is because somebody decided to kill an animal and eat them.
Right.
And that's why we're here. We made it this far because of hunters. So I think that's kind of a conundrum, because we're now the society we live in here in the United States, still the best country in the world. I've lived in a number of them, or been to a number of them, and lived in a couple. Just best country in the world. But for some reason, people like us are frowned upon in a lot of circles in our society because of what we love to do or spend our life doing. With the hunting aspect of it, I don't know so much the archery aspect of it, but I always found that kind of funny, ironic, maybe a little bit, because that the only reason why the genes got passed on to the next generation and so on and so forth down the line for them to be here is because somebody actually killed an animal, and that's how we survived. We can't just survive off plants. It's impossible. It's not impossible to have that diet now, but we have an electrical grid, and we've got railways, and we've got trucking lines, and my girlfriend, for example, is a vegan. She made the same choices about meat that I did. We just went about it different ways. She just said, I'm not going to take part in the meat market that we have here. I'm not going to do that. And I also did. I said, I'm not going to take part in the meat market we have here. I'm going to get my own. I'm going to provide my own. It's much more healthy. I don't have to worry about it. And so you can now with in our modern society and the technology that we have, you can survive completely plant-based. And she eats very healthy, and she's very, very healthy woman. If we would lose the electrical grid, if we would lose some of our niceties, if that stuff goes away, we don't have enough of a growing season to survive as a society or even a small community off of plants. You would have to be on that right now, preparing, nonstop around the clock with your growing seasons and storing all of that food to be able to make it through the times where we can't produce. Here, the winter actually is a pretty good growing season, but the summer is not. Everything dies. So unless you've got a greenhouse or you really know what you're doing and you can just survive off cucumbers and bell peppers, you see what I mean? So you're
Yeah.
going to have to consume protein at some point. And the funny part about it is I, in the United States, I'm a hands-on guy. I'm an artist. I build rifles. I hunt nonstop, and I feel like I have all of the skills to survive no matter what happens. But I get that from a lot of people as they say, well, if it ever goes down, if it ever hits the fan, we're going to come to you. Well, that's probably not the greatest idea in the first, if it all does,
No.
it's probably not a great idea to come up this way. And what I always tell them is, well, do you know the password? And they're like, well, what's the password? And I go, well, exactly. It's probably not a good idea, to come up here if it all does go down. But if it does, all of a sudden, who I am as a person, or who hunters are as people, we become way more important in society all of a sudden. If we're the ones who can provide for you to be able to stay alive till next week, and then all of a sudden we're really important people. And it is kind of weird that in the society that we live in, that it could flip-flop that fast based on something completely on our outside control. We get hit, for example, we've got that balloon, what if that did happen to EMP? What if our grid went down after that? Well, who's going to survive? The people who can find and clean water, the people who can find and clean meat and cook meat. Those are the people that actually survive those scenarios. And that's when humanity really becomes humanity, right? That's when you find out that politeness is just people holding themselves back. because when you haven't eaten in 3 to 7 days, it's a whole different world out there. So I have always found that to be kind of a conundrum, the fact that we have such a huge part of society that looks down on the hunter for what we do, but it's only because they are I got to be really careful how I say this. They are, I don't want to say lazy. They're encouraged to be lazy, I guess.
Well,
And,
this is not a politically correct channel. So
it is.
if you want to say we kill animals, we don't harvest animals, we harvest crops, we kill animals. So
I always try to be careful about it, because no matter what, we're ambassadors, right, for the sport. Right. And so I get enough of that. I get enough of the murderer, you're a killer, this kind of stuff. And it's very hateful stuff. And which is fine. It lets me know a lot more about you than it does about me. I know who I am. I know that by me taking an animal, I'm not out there because I just want to kill something. That's not why I go hunting.
Right.
But that's what we're always dealing with. It. One of my favorite things that I ever said was off the cuff, but I think about it all the time. And I had a girl. She had a client of mine at the time. I had a pool automation company, and I was over working on their pool equipment. And she had found out after I finished up the job, I was going hunting. And I says, I'm just finishing up here because I got to get out. I've got a tag and I'm going to be gone for a week. And I says, I'm going to go get an elk with my bow. And she said, oh my God, I can't believe you would do anything like that. And that's horrible. And I took it all from her. I said, yeah, it's fine. I understand. Some people don't agree with it, and that's not their lifestyle. And as I'm about to leave, she says, I hope you don't get one. And it stopped me. And I was like, what? Why would you say that? She says, well, I hope you don't get one. I hope you don't get an elk. And I says, well, that's fine. I says, but I want you to know, I would never, ever wish for your carrots not to come up. And she still talks to me to this day. But it was like one of those things that's the only way I could say it to her. That's what I eat. That's what my kids eat. This is how we survive, So I would never wish for your carrots not to come up or for your car to break down on the way to the grocery store. That's horrible. Why would you ever wish that for somebody? But I think that they get away with that kind of stuff because to them, it's kind of a fake slacktivism compassion for the animal. I don't know why else you would say something like that. But to me, that's very like, I would never say anything like that to somebody. So we do take that flack or that heaviness from the general public. We just have to take it. People can say stuff like that to me. Well, I hope you don't get one. Well, that's great, but I would never ever do that to you. I hope you don't get your dreams. I hope you fail out of college. We're not supposed to do that to each other. So I always found that odd that it's okay to do that to somebody who's going to hunt because, well, you're just being compassionate on the animal side because you don't want the animal to die. But then you're going to go to McDonald's and order a Big Mac at 12 o'clock too. So I don't understand how that all makes sense to most people. But in the end, we can only control ourselves and be who we are. I love being a hunter. And for me, being a bow hunter is being a true hunter. I suppose gonna get people arguing with me going, well, it's not, you don't use a traditional bow, or you could use a spear, or you could just use a rock or whatever. I suppose, that always goes down the line, but man, I love archery. I love it.
Well, I know one time I was one of the Ted Nugent shows he had on, he was talking about if you pay an assassin to kill somebody, are you guilty of murder, just like the assassin? Right. And well, yeah, if you hire an assassin, you're going to jail because you committed murder. And it's the same thing. If you eat meat or have anything to do with any animal, whether it be your leather in your shoes, because a lot of shoes are made with leather, and where's leather come from? It comes from the animal. You paid somebody to kill that animal to get your shoes. You paid that animal, you paid that person to kill the animal so you could have the meat. You paid somebody to do it. So therefore, you're guilty of killing an animal as if you pulled the trigger, or, in cattle now, what they do, they herd them up, they stick them in, and they got that gun that just shoots them in the brain and kills them. What's a deer have? Well, they have a lot of instincts. They are not controlled. They have instinct, and our goal is to make as clean, as quick kill as we can. We don't want to take and have them suffer. For one thing, it's we feel bad when we wound an animal and we spend hours and hours looking for it because we refuse to give up. I've done it. 6 hours I've stomped fields trying to find the deer that got up and run off. That was the deer I hit, with the bow, and it hit that shoulder blade, and it penetrated in a couple inches, and that was it. That's, when it healed back up, next year, you wouldn't even known it was there. So, we go out there and we try to, make those, good, clean kills that go and lay down and just go to sleep. That's our goal, is to have them, not suffer. It'd be different if, your whole goal was to shoot them in the guts and see how long they live. That's not, now we've probably all done that, but that's not our intent, because we all make bad shots no matter what we do. But
I forget if I'm left or right-handed in that moment.
Yeah.
How do I don't even know how to shoot my bow anymore. It's funny what happens to us. Yeah, I love it. I bounce back and forth with all the technology stuff, fixed blade, mechanical blade, compound, single pin. I go back and forth on all kinds of stuff. I can make arguments for any little things, I guess, but I've found that I've been honing my gear down, for archery here out west, and you got to have a bow with enough energy to shoot a 400 grain plus arrow at as close to 300 feet per second as you possibly can. You've got to practice out to 80 yards for that shot. 100 is preferable. The kinetic energy numbers on those, probably your shot should always be under 80 yards, to be ethical. Sometimes, like I did this year, I just had to put a hole in him and make him leak. Even if it was 7 yards farther than that, that's the shot I had. I have noticed fixed blades, I have a lot more dead animals faster. But fixed blades, and I shoot slick tricks 125s because they shoot like my field points out to
Right.
60, 65 yards, pretty darn close. And I don't like to have to do any retuning or anything on my bow. I want to be able to spin my broadheads on and go hunt, and they shoot fairly close. Now, anything past that 65 yards, the mechanical actually has the edge for arrow flight. But I feel that that's when we lose that ethical part of it, because now we don't have the energy to actually deploy that mechanical head at those ranges and get a good clean pass through. So, I've seen some incredible shots that were horrible shots with the mechanical that it just opened the animal up and it turned it into a good shot. And I've also seen some really incredible shots that should have been a dead animal within feet that we never recovered. So with the mechanicals, fixed blade for me, we don't have things go wrong very much. If you put a cut on contact blade and with a pass through on an animal, they're going to be piled up within the next 100 yards, generally within 20 or 30. But other than that, practice is all I can say about hunting out here. I mean, you gotta be on your game, because when you're in that moment, you're going to have to rely on muscle memory. Because like I said, when I'm in that moment, I can't remember if I'm right or left-handed. So some of these guys that say, super cool under pressure, I don't know. I feel like I train for it all year long, but I still get, my heart in my throat when I'm in those situations. But I was actually just having this conversation with somebody the other day. What I realized, Roy, is I don't ever remember drawing my bow or taking a shot when I hunt. So there is something to be said about the muscle memory of practicing shooting those 12 arrows every day and just having that go down. Because if I think about it, I can remember shots where I missed animals, but shots where I hit, I don't remember drawing back. I can remember taking the time to knock my arrow when the deer's looking away. But when that all goes down, it seems to just be you're zoned in, muscle memory, and it just happens. I did go to a single pin site a number of years ago because hunting out here, I had 20 through 60 yard pins. And then what I had to do for extended ranges is I built a reticle out of fishing line. So I just hot glued a vertical, and then I spaced out horizontal fishing lines, what looked like the spacing of my pins. I just guessed at it. And then I shot it at extended ranges to figure out exactly what they were, so it was really like 72, and then it was 85, and then it was like 100 yards or 102 is what it was on that. But that's how I was able to get out, to extended ranges and learn how to shoot my bow farther. But your sight picture is so cluttered at that point. And like you say, you're trying to keep your eye on the target, not the pin. Well, what happens when you've got, 5 or 6 pins, and then you've got this other extended reticle out of fishing line, and I had all little dots on there so I could see, what was what. And after a while, everything's so muddled up. And I went to a single pin. I went to a spot hog. I shoot the Tommy hog, and I will never go away from that system. I absolutely love it. It's actually the 2 pin, but it's a vertical. it's a vertical pin, and then it's got, one in the middle. I was worried that in a hunting situation, I wouldn't have time to dial to the correct yardage. That's been complete BS. I've proven to myself that if I don't have time to dial the bow, it's a shot I shouldn't be taking anyway. It's happening too fast. And if they're moving, you shouldn't shoot anyway.
Right.
If you're in a situation where it's happening all that fast, you're probably not going to get a shot, especially at an extended range. If they're close enough, your bow should already be dialed on a lower pin setting anyway, so that you can maybe make that happen. But I've never had an instance where I didn't have time to range my target and dial my sight and take my time and take the shot. And so I found that to be, now of course I shoot the levitate, everybody's got their own thing or their own brand loyalty,
Right.
but that's what gets me there. I'm shooting as close to 300 feet per second as I can on a 420 grain arrow, on contact blades with a single pin slider sight. I think that's what, for me, is the perfect hunting setup out here out west. But who knows? It's just me. But it seems to work. I help a lot of other guys out with that too, and just go, not that what I use is the best, but this is why I use it, and you'll see the benefits, in these different situations. And you can. I think that really sets us up for success out here. When I was in Michigan, I didn't know anybody that had a 30-yard pin on their bow. It was 15, 20, 25.
Well, all the trees, you don't have those long shots. And that's what I was saying, on a single pin, set it for 20. Because if they come in at 20, you don't have time to change them, because even if they come in and stop or walking slow, you don't have time to set them. So set them at 20. If they come on at 30, you maybe have to go just a little bit high. But if they're further than that, you're going to have time to adjust your pin. Like I said, range them and adjust your pin. Here I don't really have that many long shots, just because, where we're at here in Nebraska, you don't generally have the really long shots. So I have, your 20, your 30, your 40, and, 60-yard pins. And what I found is if I can get all the pins on the kill zone, it's a real close shot. I better be, any pin will work. Then I get a little bit further, if I got the, where it's smaller and smaller, I'm using less pins, I know I got to use the higher pin. Because when you got 20 yards, maybe the 20 and the 40 or the belly and the spine, and then a little bit further. And so I can kind of know based on my pins, because I've shot at deer size animals with a different ranges, so I can kind of use those as a quick rangefinder.
Yeah.
Because we're so close, you got to go really quick. The problem is, if you forget to pick a pin, it doesn't matter which one you're using.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
I talked about that in one of the other episodes where I shot, and it's like I completely missed it. Don't know what's going on. So then I had a field tip with me, and so I picked out a leaf and I hit it. It's like, damn on, what's going on, And it was a field tip or a dull one or something, but I hit the leaf, and it's like, I think I forgot to pick the spot. Pick the pin and pick the spot. I looked at the deer, and that's one of those things, you go through enough, you just automatically do it. And the same thing in any sport. If you do it enough, it becomes a reaction. Like I studied martial arts for many years, and something to drop, and I just automatically just go where it's going to be, and instead of grabbing for it, I just go where it's going to be and let it fall in my hand. And just reactions. Somebody startles you, you turn around and you react to it, and it's just all instinct. And that's what we need to do with the bow, is shoot enough that it becomes instinct, to where we draw back, we get everything, you go through the same process. We've talked about in other ones, it's the process. And if you do this every time the same way, you're going to have the same results. It's when you vary it or start thinking about something else, that's when you start messing it up.
I still have to tell myself the same thing every time. it's a whole little rundown that I do in my brain, and it's just these little trick words to myself to remind myself to be consistent. But I float my pin, like you're saying, you're never gonna hold it still. So I always start high, and I'll float my pin down, and because I find that moving is easier than trying to keep it still, because you actually bobble around this way. So if I'm vertically just allowing my pin to settle and come down, then I'm going to pause on my spot. I'm going to pull with my back elbow, and I'm going to watch my pin all the way through until my arrow hits the target.
Right.
And that for me, I have to literally tell myself those things every single time I take a shot. I still do it, because I find when I don't, I drop my bow, I push the shot, I punch the release. I still can shoot pretty good. I could lie to myself and go, well, I still hit vitals, I'm fine, but I know where it should have been. I know that bow is
Right.
good enough that when that bow leaves, that arrow should hit exactly where my pin was, and it does. So if I bobble off, if I push my shot or I drop my bow, that arrow, it's exactly where that pin was when I've let that go.
Yeah.
And I have to
That's
do
why
all
you
those
don't look at the pin, because
Yep.
if you look at the pin, it's going to go wherever you're looking at the pin instead of looking at the target.
Yeah. That's it. That's all I do. I vertically float it down. I'll pause on my spot, pull through my release, and watch all the way into the target. And I wreck a lot of arrows that way.
Well, one of the things I've done in, sighting bows in, as well as teaching people, how to shoot, is you take about a 1-inch thick line and you place it horizontally on your target. So it's a horizontal 1-inch thick line. And I tell them, shoot the line. Don't care where it's at on the line, just shoot the line. Once we get it, where it's dialed in, maybe some low, some high, next thing you know, they're hitting that line, because your mind will let you follow it left and right. So now they're hitting this line almost consistently. Now take that same line and turn it vertically. And now you can float up and down where you want, and they're hitting that line. And now you say, okay, you can hit a 1-inch horizontal line, you can hit a 1-inch vertical line, you should be able to hit a 1-inch square.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Some people don't think they can do it when they start going through that. They don't realize that I'm training them to realize that, yes, you can hit a 1-inch square.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
There a lot of tricks I've learned over the years on between teaching archery, teaching martial arts, and everything else. It just kind of flows together, because I would people say, archery is like a martial art in the way you do it, because you have to do repeat. And in some of the archeries is a whole art in itself. Some of them, I've seen some of the Japanese bows were actually drawn way back. But, in their practice, they might draw the bow back and let it down 1,000 times before they even get to knock an arrow.
Yeah.
And then knock it, I might know 1,000 times with an arrow before they learn the same thing every time. Until you've done it 1,000 times, it's not muscle memory.
Yeah.
No
Yeah,
matter
it's
what
true.
you're doing.
Yeah.
I try, if you're right-handed trying to use your left hand to do something, it's like it doesn't work. You keep doing it. Next thing you know, you do it just as well you can with the right hand. It just you just got to practice, which is always the fun part.
I was just going to say, that is the fun part. It's cathartic. No matter how your day went, when you get home from work, or your boss gave you a hard time, or whatever it is, knocking an arrow and shooting lets me, I don't know if it's escape or rise above, or whatever that is, forget, work through, whatever it is. It's cathartic for me. I go shoot my 12 arrows. Sometimes it turns into 50, but it kind of lets you work through your day and think about stuff, dream, think about my next project, whatever. But it's never a meaningless time. And like you say, the whole time I know I'm developing that muscle memory, and I'm working on myself. And a lot of times if I'm getting ready for a shoot or hunting or anything, I'll shoot until my form drops off. So wherever that is, whether it's 15 arrows today or it's takes 47 or whatever it is, when I notice but my form is dropping off, I just quit. I'm done, But a lot of times I like to end it with a bullseye. I can tell my form is dropping off. I'll shoot a good bullseye at 65 yards or whatever, and then I'm done, because I like that last shot to be right. I don't want the last shot to be off,
Right.
It's a mental thing, I think, but first shot is for me, the first shot and the last shot. I want it to be completely dialed. All the ones in the middle are seen, are just repetition and muscle memory and me learning my rig. And a lot of times I'm just doing that. I have it marked in 10-yard intervals on the whole range, but I'm just walking to wherever, taking a range, dialing that range, shooting it, walking another. So what I'm trying to do most of the time is I shoot 6 arrows at a time. I'll shoot 6 arrows into the same hole, or trying to shoot into the same hole at all different ranges. So wherever I'll take a few steps, stop, range it, shoot that arrow, walk another 10 yards over here, got a bush in the way, I got to kneel down, shoot that same target, and see if I can still come away with those super consistent, 2-inch group, the shooting 6 arrows over from 40 to 78 yards, for example. And that's really, for me, that's the challenge now. It's more interesting than standing in the same spot and shooting 6 arrows from 60 yards, but whatever you got to do to keep yourself doing it. I know a lot of guys I hunt with, they only have maximum like 20 yards in their backyard that they can even shoot. But that's what I tell them. They're like, oh, all I can ever do is, shoot at 20 yards. Well, you're still better off going outside every day and shoot your 12 arrows at 20 yards than you are waiting to only shoot once a week, where you can go to a range and shoot extended ranges. You should still be getting out and shooting those 12 arrows, because your form is what dictates if you can even hit anything at 80 yards.
Right.
You have to already have that dialed in. But
well, and only in 20 yards, you could do a 5-yard or 10-yard or 50-yard and 20-yard. So you could still vary it. It's a little bit closer range, but you can still vary it a little bit. And there, so now you're shooting the same concept yard. Now, when you get outside, start at 20 and go back, up to 20, because you're doing the 20 and closer. Now spend that time, if you have a 40-yard range, go to the 20 to 40 and do the same thing there. And now you're getting, all that good practice in.
Yeah. That and cricket. Have you ever, playing darts, the game cricket?
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever done that with your bow?
Yeah. I actually have some of those targets.
Yeah. I tell people about that all the time, is if you can play games like that with your friends, you're making yourself so much better, and you're not concentrating on it. Because a lot of times we concentrate on it so hard, we're causing target panic, we're punching our releases, we're getting frustrated, we're adjusting sights all the time. And, if you just get into a game of cricket and play darts with your friends, and have them come over once a week, and you're just going to play a game of darts for your 6-pack of beer or whatever you're going to do, you'll find yourself get way better faster, because you're not thinking about it anymore, and you're starting to just kind of use your instincts, but you're getting that muscle memory the whole time, and you're competing. So once you get that little bit of a competitive edge with your buddy, and you're trying to outshoot each other, man, shooting that little 3, you need it, and it makes you way better. Those kind of things,
right?
The 3D archery shoots, that makes me way better.
Oh yeah.
It's all the different angles, it's all the different stuff, the kneeling, the sitting, all that stuff that's actually going to make a difference in the field, because not very often do you get that perfect 40-yard broadside standing level shot. It just isn't going to happen,
Yeah, especially near the tree stand, you never have a level shot. I know there's another game that's kind of fun to play, is the tic-tac-toe.
Oh yeah,
targets with tic-tac-toe on it, and those kind of, because you got 5 arrows, so you need 3 in a row, so it gives you 2 extra arrows. And the way to play it is like, okay, I need this spot. That means I have to shoot it closer to the center to take it away. Otherwise you waste your arrow. And you would take it away and there's still room to take it. They can take it back away from you. So there's a whole strategy to that, where you go in and you can play them. And there's targets that have cards on them. So you can play cards. You get 5 shots, you got 5 cards. You can make whatever hand you want, play poker or whatever you want to do. And those are all a lot of fun playing those games as well.
Yeah. I think it's a real benefit, especially with bringing people into the sport and with kids, because, it's hard to be like, hey, you need to go out and shoot your bow. Hey, you need to go practice your bow. Just like an instrument. Hey, you got to go practice your saxophone. Well, it's a lot more fun if your buddies come over and you're jamming a song together, or you're
right.
You develop so much faster that way. And so I think archery is the same way, where it really helps to it turns out to be a singular sport most of the time. You're hunting by yourself a lot of the time, but it really helps in your development of your archery skills to do it with other people. It really does. You won't give up. You'll keep, a lot of times that's what we do. We're lazy. Oh, that was good enough. I shot yesterday. I don't have to do it today. And if you've got other people involved and into it too, then it really makes you a lot better. It's not just twice as good. It's probably 3 or 4 times as good as what you normally would be.
It's that getting out there and having something to do besides just the normal shooting the spots and everything else. It just makes it a lot more fun. Well, we've been on here about 2 hours now, a little bit longer than what we planned on. That we get talking about archery.
About hunting for a long time.
Yeah. So, just kind of parting thoughts. What would you like to tell our listeners, whether they be new or experienced, or what would you like to tell our listeners?
I would say whether you're into hunting or shooting spots or silhouette or 3D or whatever archery means to you, don't give up. Keep on it. It's going to mean different things to you throughout your life, but it's such a great sport to be a part of. It's in your body. If you are interested in hunting and you want to take that plunge, you've got questions, you need a guide, you just need to talk to somebody about how you're going to hunt some land, give me a call. I'm usually always around. My phone number is on my website. It's carnimore.com. Like carnivore, but with an M. And I'd love to help you out in any way I can. So this has been great. I love the fact that you do this, and archery talk is a big thing for me. Anytime I need to know something or I'm just living vicariously through everybody's cool bow setups that they put out. I'm seeing what I'm going to do to mine next, it's always amazing. So I really appreciate you having me on, and would love to do it again. And don't give up. Keep shooting. 12 arrows a day. So
yeah, pick a number and stay with it each day, right?
Right. That's right.
Well, and I'll leave a link in the description on how to get a hold of it, make it a little easier for people to do that. And in that way, they can just click on the link and go. That'll be in the description. So
okay, perfect.
Yeah,
perfect.
My name is Roy Canterbury, and I'm your host today on Arch Talk 101. Thanks for listening or watching, and we'll see you next time.